The sun was sinking behind the jagged desert cliffs when the shy farmer, Elias Ward, guided his mule cart toward the edge of the valley. The air smelled of dust, sagebrush, and the fading heat of the Wild West. Elias was a quiet man, known by the nearby townsfolk as the kind of person who spoke only when necessary, whose hat brim stayed low and whose calloused hands revealed a life of hard work, rather than adventure. For the most part, he preferred silence. Silence of the fields, silence of the wind, silence of being alone. But that evening, silence didn't feel comforting anymore. It felt empty, echoing, as if something or someone was missing from his life. His cabin stood near the tree line, wooden and weathered but strong, just like him. As he approached, he noticed a shadow moving near the door. His hand instinctively reached for the old rifle in his wagon, but before he even touched it, a voice broke the hush of twilight. "Don't fear. I mean no harm." Elias froze. The voice was calm yet powerful, feminine, steady, confident. From the shadows stepped a woman taller than any he had seen in these parts, her presence striking and commanding. She wore traditional clothing adorned with beads and buckskin, her long dark hair braided with feathers that glimmered under the dimming sky. Her eyes, deep and bright as amber, locked onto his. She wasn't just tall, she was truly towering, nearly as tall as the cabin's doorway. Elias swallowed hard, unsure whether awe or fear controlled his heart. "My name is Ayanna," she said, placing a hand over her chest respectfully. "I am from the Apache people who live beyond the ridge." Elias nodded slowly, unsure what to respond. Ayanna continued, "I need shelter, just for the night. I've walked far. I've been searching for someone who could help me." Her words weren't demanding. They carried a weight of exhaustion and something else, loneliness. Elias hesitated only a moment before quietly opening the door and stepping aside. He wasn't the kind of man to ever say no to someone in need. Inside, the dim lamplight revealed her towering form more clearly, and Elias couldn't help but blush slightly when she sat on the wooden bed. The entire frame creaked under her weight. She let out a soft chuckle. "Your furniture is small for me." Elias looked away, rubbing the back of his neck. "Most things here are," he mumbled. Then silence fell again, awkward, thick, unspoken. Ayanna studied him, her voice gentle yet curious. "You live alone?" Elias nodded. "Always have." Her eyes softened. "It must hurt, being without a man or woman beside you." Elias felt his heartbeat jump. No one had ever spoken to him so boldly. Yet there was no teasing in her words, only observation. Truth. He forced a shy smile. "I manage." Ayanna shook her head as if she could see right through him. "You are strong, but even strong men feel the ache of loneliness." She placed her hand over his, her hand twice the size of his own. Warm, steady, comforting. Elias didn't pull away. Couldn't pull away. Her presence filled the room like a fire in winter, intense but protective. As the night deepened, Ayanna shared her story. She'd left her home to find someone trustworthy to help her tribe defend their land from a band of ruthless raiders who had been harassing their hunting trails. She didn't want war, only support, tools, supplies, and someone who knew the land well enough to help them survive the harsh season ahead. Elias listened carefully, his heart twisting with both concern and admiration. She spoke not with fear, but with fierce determination, a woman who would rather protect her people than stand in the shadows. And somehow in her words, Elias felt something stirring inside him for the first time in years. Purpose. "Why me?" he finally asked. Ayanna's eyes glowed warmly as she studied him. "Because you are gentle, patient, and brave in your own quiet way. I can see that. And because even though you carry loneliness, your spirit is still good." Elias looked down, embarrassed. No one had ever described him in such a way. Not even close. Ayanna moved closer, her shadow falling over him, making him feel small but strangely safe. "It hurts being without a man," she murmured suddenly, her voice surprisingly vulnerable now. "Someone to trust, someone to depend on, someone to feel beside you when the world becomes too heavy." Her confession stunned him. For all her strength, she too carried wounds. And in that moment, the shy farmer and the giant Apache woman sat together in the fragile, tender silence of two souls who had never expected to understand each other, yet somehow did. Outside, the wind whispered around the cabin walls, carrying with it the promise of change. For Elias, for Ayanna, and for everything waiting on the horizon of the Wild West. Dawn broke in streaks of rose and gold as Elias stepped outside, the cool morning air brushing against his face. Inside the cabin, Ayanna slept deeply, exhausted from her long journey. Elias watched the sun rise, feeling something new blooming inside. Him, courage, purpose, a reason to step beyond the boundaries of his quiet, lonely life. When Ayanna awoke, she found him chopping wood with more strength than before, as if a fire had been lit inside him overnight. She smiled softly. "You are preparing for something," she said. Elias straightened, breathing hard. "If your people need help." "I want to help." Ayanna approached him, towering over him in the morning light. But her expression was gentle. "You don't owe us anything." Elias shook his head. "Maybe not, but helping you feels right." Her eyes shone, respect, gratitude, and something warmer. Together they began gathering supplies, tools, ropes, food, seeds for planting, small weapons Elias rarely used but kept for emergencies. Ayanna watched him work with surprising admiration. "Most men in town would refuse," she said quietly. "They fear us. They misunderstand my people." Elias paused, meeting her gaze. "Then they don't know what I know." Ayanna tilted her head. "And what is that?" Elias swallowed, nervous but honest. "That you have the strongest heart I've ever seen." The giant woman's cheeks warmed, just slightly, but enough to make Elias's own face flush. They spent the day preparing for the journey to her homeland. As they walked through the valley, Ayanna slowed her pace so the distance between them never grew too wide. She told him stories of her childhood, running barefoot through wild grasslands, learning from her elders, protecting her younger siblings, and the peace her people valued above everything else. Elias listened, captivated. Every story made her seem more extraordinary, more human, more real. By midday they reached the ridge overlooking her tribe's land, a beautiful expanse of forest, river, and open fields. But the beauty was cut by signs of struggle, burned patches, broken fences, and abandoned hunting traps left by raiders. Ayanna's jaw tightened with pain and anger. Elias touched her arm, nervously but sincerely. "We'll fix it," he murmured. She looked at him with a mixture of gratitude and something deeper, something tender. Her people welcomed Elias cautiously at first, wondering why an outsider had come. But Ayanna stood proudly beside him and said, "He is a friend, a good man, here to help us." Her words were enough. Soon Elias was helping rebuild fences, repair tools, plant seeds, and set up watch systems that would alert the tribe if raiders returned. Days passed and something incredible happened. Ayanna and Elias grew closer. She laughed at his shy habits, how he avoided eye contact when complimented, how he blushed whenever she stood too close. And Elias discovered something astonishing about her. Behind her towering strength, she had a gentle, patient heart. She often sat beside him during meals, protecting him from curious stares by placing her massive arm behind him like a shield. At night, around the fire, she would quietly shift closer, her presence warm and reassuring. But everything changed one evening when the raiders returned. Shadows moved across the ridge, torches in hand. Elias froze, not from fear, but from the sudden realization that Ayanna and her people were in real danger. Without hesitation, Ayanna stepped forward, her tall frame blocking the path to the village. Elias stood beside her, trembling but determined. Ayanna glanced at him. "You don't have to stand here," she whispered. "I do," he replied, voice shaking but steady. "You're not alone." The confrontation was tense but brief. The raiders underestimated the united strength of the tribe and the sheer courage of the shy farmer who refused to back down. When the danger passed, Ayanna turned to Elias with pride glowing brighter than firelight. "You have a brave heart," she whispered. Elias shook his head. "I just didn't want you to be hurt." Her breath softened. Her eyes lingered on him in a way that made his chest tighten. She knelt down so her face met his, her height no longer creating distance but bridging it. "It hurts being without a man," she said again. "But it hurts even more when you find one worth keeping." And fear losing him, Elias swallowed, overwhelmed. "You won't lose me," he whispered. Her hand cupped his cheek gently, her touch warm and protective. "Then stay," she murmured. "With me, with my people, with the life we can build together." Elias nodded without hesitation. For the first time he felt truly seen, truly needed, truly loved. And in that moment, under the vast Wild West sky, the shy farmer and the giant Apache woman began a new life, one built on courage, respect and an unexpected love stronger than anything either had imagined.